What's up, everybody? Welcome into a new topic we haven't hit yet. I threw the poll up and you all choose the content. This was a case I was planning on avoiding, and I understand why some of you may avoid it. We may just do one or two videos of overview explaining certain things on it. It's the Chad Doerman case from Ohio, 21 count indictment for ending the lives of his 3 children. And his wife was also a victim in the case. So what we're going to do today, because a lot of you had a very similar set of questions, and it was just a few questions. So we are going to hit those questions in this video in turn. We are going to watch the body cam footage, which some of you had some questions about how calm he was. We're going to watch that together and talk about how that could be used in his case. Number 2, why is it 21 counts if there are 3 or 4 victims? How does that make sense? And I'm actually going to bring my dad in to answer that question and go through that indictment, all 21 counts. He's going to talk about why the charges are the way they are, how you get to 21 counts, and if he's convicted of all 21 counts, can the judge even stack those convictions on top of each other? Because the answer may be yes to some and no to others, so stick around for that. And then at the end, we are going to talk about how somebody can confess, which reportedly he did confess, and then plead not guilty. So we're going to talk about that at the very end. Hit that like button if you haven't already, and hit the subscribe button. We are almost at 250K, and I am a sucker for giving the people what they want, regardless of how tragic the story is, because we deal with this stuff in real life. And I want to answer your questions on it. And I know a lot of people are interested because of how sad they want justice for these boys. I do as well. So we're going to hopefully help in that process a little bit by giving you some information and shedding some light on some of the things you have questions about. So what we're going to start with here is, and if anybody doesn't know about the case, this is a case of a father who was accused of using a firearm against his sons. And I use that language for YouTube. Of course, we are going to get into the language, obviously, when we hit the indictment, but cops were called. They show up to his house right after the crime was allegedly committed and allegedly confessed to. So we're going to watch how law enforcement shows up to this. I'm going to put it on normal speed, but I'm going to skip through some of the slower parts of them just kind of walking up to the house. But the interaction, I think, is telling. And again, we're going to remember this. We build on this stuff, right? As we get information on the cases, we build on it. So remember this while my dad's talking about the indictment for when we come back and I explain how you can confess to something and still plead not guilty and how this body cam footage might come into play there.
Where's he at?
Here. He's shooter's on the porch.
Get him right here. Right here. You got him on the porch.
We've asked. That's the last place we've been told.
You show me your hands now! Stand up and walk towards us! Stand up now! Walk towards us! Stand up with your hands up!
And if you're wondering why they're coming in literally guns blazing with serious heavy-duty firearms, bulletproof vests, yelling like this, seeming nasty and angry, they don't know what happened yet. It's because they get the call. They know what's been reported, and for their safety and the safety of everyone else around, if you hear that a weapon was used, this is how law enforcement is trained to come in. This is the appropriate way to come in. I promise they're not expecting him to act like he acts when they do show up.
His name is Chad Doerman. Chad Doerman.
And they know Chad Doerman is who they're looking for.
If you're going to need first aid and he's not complying, you know he's a shooter, shoot him.
And I don't know if you heard that,
Gotta
but
find cover first. We ain't no good if we ain't safe ourselves.
And again, law enforcement knows that everything's being recorded on body cam, and they said something like, if he's a shooter, shoot him, because we're no good if we're not here and we're not safe. So that's what's in their head. So it should be in their head for their safety when they're reported to something dangerous like this, where they know somebody has a weapon and they know he has, I shouldn't say they know. It's been reported somebody has a weapon, and it's been reported that he's used it against another human being. That's exactly what they are as human beings. If he's there to protect himself or there to hurt people, they should be on red alert. And, you're just getting a view of that here on the body cam footage real time.
Hey, no. We need to come from this side where we can see them. Don't take cover behind her.
And they're
We
being
see 'em.
cautious as they should.
We're going to approach from this side. We got cover.
We've talked about law enforcement a lot on this channel. They're put in impossible situations
here.
all the time
Six number
with limited
29
knowledge, and they're
63
going in here to
Pega.
protect the other people in this neighborhood and in this house. I'm personally not built for this stuff, so I have a lot of respect for people who are.
Show us your fucking hands now. Stand up. Stand up.
P.S. Excuse the language. This is uncut footage here.
Stand up. Stand up now. Stand up. Stand the fuck up.
So he's not listening to them. They're blurring out the dog, I believe. I don't really know why. He yells at the dog to go in a few times. As you can see, he is sitting there. And we know how this video ends. If you've seen it, I've seen it, so I know how it ends. But when you walk up as a law enforcement officer, knowing what was reported to you, and he has a rifle sitting right next to him, and he is refusing to stand up when you tell him to stand up, that is a scary situation. So what does the officer do? He rips him up, throws him to the ground. Exactly what he should do. Does not give him a chance to reach for his rifle. Himself, the other officers with him, lives on the line, literally. So, I mean, if we're breaking down how law enforcement handled this, to me, A+.
You're
not,
and fly whenever any unit's gonna die.
Get your hands out of here.
72.
Tell them we're 21. It's in the air.
Those guys can confirm that there's people that need first aid, and that's the shooter. He's not complying. They need to take care of the
I got it.
victims. They have to shoot him and shoot him.
And they're confirming that that is the shooter.
Trying to hurt nobody. We're completely sober. Never did drugs a day
63,
in my
we're
life.
21.
Hard to hear some of it
Get
because
EMS
of
over here.
Well, I did drugs,
Dog.
but I don't do drugs now. I'm sober. I'm not trying to fight you.
and then you hear somebody else. I think it's his daughter in the background, but I'm not sure. I mean, whoever it is, how tragic. And I think he's yelling at somebody to go inside. I don't know if it's the dog or the daughter. There's stuff going on, though. And this is the point. Like, for law enforcement, again, I can't help but keep myself thinking about them. Chaotic situation here that they're dealing with.
63.
Get your butt inside. Gatlin, get your butt inside.
We on primary?
Now.
29, we got 3 kids down.
3 kids down, 16 kids up.
Gatlin.
63, we're 21.
Knock
Have
it off.
EMS respond over
And
here.
again, the defendant is yelling at somebody to get inside, saying, get your butt inside, like trying to help the situation. And you'll hear how he interacts with law enforcement now.
You're clear, they're being advised.
Robert 34, just started mass do respond.
63, do you want them to respond to the Laurel Lindale address? Where exactly do you need them?
We're right in the front yard. What are you doing, man?
Hey, pretty copy all this.
Can I roll over? I ain't gonna hurt you. I ain't gonna hurt nobody.
You got anything on you?
No, I ain't got nothing, man. Phone, that's it.
He literally, I mean, I feel like I would sound like him if somebody showed up to my house. I'd be like, I'm not going to hurt anybody. What's going on? But thinking about what he just did reportedly and allegedly and confessionally by himself, to be able to act like this is pretty wild.
Mad, I ain't nothing.
I'm not mad. I'm not nothing. I'm not going to hurt anybody.
Just make sure that dog don't come out. I don't think he'll bite you. Just don't reach for him and try to grab him and pet him. He won't bite you.
And he's like basically giving them tips on how to deal with the dog so they don't get bit.
What's going on, man?
Nothing. Can I stand up? It's kind of uncomfortable.
I'm going to
I
get
ain't
you
gonna
here
do
in a
nothing. I ain't running
second.
away. You can do whatever you want with me.
The house?
What?
You're the only one else inside the
Yeah,
house.
yeah.
Sit down right here.
My daughter, she ran over to the fire department.
Sit down.
It's my stepdaughter.
Put him in the cage.
His daughter went to this fire department. They're going to put him in the cage. And you notice how law enforcement grabs him. It's not
That's a little.
kind, you know, it's tight grip, transfer from one to the next, taking him to the car.
There's also airplanes flying, but they need an LV.
Back pocket.
Shut up, dude.
21. Should pull out of this status.
Can you get the wallet out of my back pocket?
Shut up, dude.
21.
He says, can you get the wallet out of my pocket? He said, just shut up, dude. Yeah, they don't need to be nice to him, bro. They're here because of what you did. Reported.
Yeah, the right to remain silent and fucking use it.
You have the right to remain silent and fucking use it.
You have the right to remain silent. Don't talk to any of us. Good police work.
Call. I'm on the lost right now. I'm almost there. Yeah, 90 when Jeep and Captain's Way.
The firehouse is advising them that the male shot the entire family.
So there you go.
Seriously?
I believe this is a restart of the body cam footage from another law enforcement officer, and that's what it's reported. So just what's going through your head? Imagine if your job is to protect and serve as a law enforcement officer. That's what they're thinking as they show up to this guy's house. A male that has killed his entire family.
Here.
Shooter's calling the force.
Get him
You know,
right here.
That's, you're
We've
hearing how
asked
important
that's
radio
why-
is and the information they're getting, knowing where to go, who to look for, what's happening, so they can be on high alert.
Please, we've been told.
You
that-
show me your hands now! Stand up and walk to me! Walk towards us! Stand up now!
And he's not following their commands. They're saying, stand up, walk to me. He's not.
the rifle, do we know?
Walk towards us! Stand up with your hands up!
29, we got a visual.
Up now!
Not showing hands or following commands.
We gotta go. We
His
gotta
name
go.
is
We
Chad
gotta go.
Doerman. Chad Doerman.
These kids are in the front. We gotta go.
Good morning.
Chad Doerman.
These kids are in the front. We gotta go.
His kids are in the front, I believe he said. So I guess there are other kids involved. I don't know all the background on this case yet. So maybe that's who the cop was talking to, was his kid that was blacked out, not the dog. But do you hear what the cop said? His kids are in the front. We have to go. They're not waiting. They're going in, making sure they protect these kids. They know right where he is. They see the rifle sitting next to him. They're going to go in and try to stop it.
Good morning, first aid, and he's not going to
Cover first.
I'm
so
trying.
it's Good if we ain't safe ourselves. We need to come.
This is all just kind of a different.
We gotta
view of
go.
what we already saw
29.
now.
Now! Stand up! Stand up now!
The master stage and air carrier is going to go ahead and fly whenever any units can.
Number 21.
first aid, and that's the shooter.
So that's the body cam footage. And again, how calm, cool, and collected he is something we're going to talk about after we discuss the 21 counts, which was by far the biggest question all of you had. Why 21 counts? Well, I brought in my dad, who has filed lots of 21 plus count criminal indictments and charging documents, charging things different ways, charging multiple crimes for one series of incidents. So he's going to come in and explain all that, how it works with the death penalty potentially now. So Dad, what do you think? Explain why, please, we got to 21 counts and how it can work if he's convicted of all of them.
So yes, that is a good question, because it seems like, wow, why would you have 21 separate counts when what we have here are 3 murders? And the reason you have that is the prosecutor is trying to cover himself, to make sure that when he goes to trial, he is allowed to argue to the jury multiple theories of murder. The jury can come back with one of those theories or guilty on all of those theories. And the prosecutor just didn't want to take the chance. So let's break down the indictment. First, we have 3 counts, count 1, 2, and 3. This is murder, or aggravated murder is the way they call it in Ohio. This is what you normally traditionally think about as murder. Premeditated murder. You think about it, you plan it, you carry out your plan, and someone dies. But premeditated murder doesn't have to be, you plan it the day before, you go buy a gun, you wait outside the house until they walk out of their house, and then you kill them. It doesn't have to be that long. A premeditation, in other words, thinking about it, making a conscious decision to commit that murder can happen in a very short period of time. I've heard prosecutors argue that someone's in a fight and they both have a knife and there's one stabbing. And then the person goes and does that second stab, and that second stab causes the death. Well, the time between the first stab and the second stab is sufficient for that person to decide and calculate that he's committing a murder. Just that short period of time, or between the first bullet and the second bullet, the first time you pull the trigger and the second time you pull the trigger, that can be enough for premeditation. So in this case, we have 3 counts of premeditated murder. Then we have 4, 5, and 6. These are felony murder. Felony murders are committing a murder during the course of committing another crime. For instance, you've got somebody robbing a bank. They're in there, they're robbing the bank, and all of a sudden a guard comes out of the side door with a gun. You turn, you shoot, you kill the guard. Well, that's first-degree murder, regardless of whether you premeditated it or thought about it. The fact that you were committing a robbery and during the course of the robbery you killed somebody, that is felony murder. In this case, they're charging that the felony murder, the crime being committed before the murder, was kidnapping, which means restraining someone, preventing someone from getting away, preventing their freedom of movement. By doing that, by doing a kidnapping, you're committing a felony. If you commit a murder, which in this case is the murder of the children, while you're restraining the children from their normal movement, is a felony murder, a crime committed or a murder committed during the course of a felony. So that's the next 3 counts and the next theory of the prosecution. Then you've got counts 7, 8, and 9. 7, 8, and 9 are counts referred to as a specific statute in Ohio that if you purposely murder a child 13 years old or less, that becomes an aggravated murder. It doesn't have to be premeditated. It doesn't have to be a felony murder during the course of commission of a felony. It can just be you intended to kill a 13-year-old or less. The next 3 counts, that's the theory. So the prosecution is going to be able to present, they premeditated it, and it was done during the course of a felony, and it was purposeful for a child to kill a child under 13. So they have 3 separate theories. Again, they can be convicted on all 3 and or on any one of them. The next counts we have are kidnapping. Now here they have 4 counts of kidnapping. You might think, why do they have 4? A lot of people have forgotten, and the press really plays up on the fact that there were, and sadly so, these 3 children. But there was also a mother. The mother was shot. The mother was restrained. The mother was kidnapped. And therefore, we have 4 counts, the 3 children and the mother. And then you've got kidnapping. The next 4 counts are kidnapping during the course of a felony. That's similar to the felony murder. So in this case, in order to facilitate this kidnapping, a murder was committed. So the aggravated murder is the felony being committed during the kidnapping. And so the prosecution is allowed to argue that this is a kidnapping during the course of the commission of a felony and in furtherance of that felony. So that's the next counts. Then you've got the felony assault. So a felonious assault, in this case, it was felonious assault with a gun. A felonious assault with a gun happened, and again, it's 4 counts, the 3 children and the mother. So your next 4 counts is using a gun to assault someone. Now, one of the multiple questions we have after this is all done is this a death penalty case? Yes, this is a death penalty case. The prosecutor has announced they're going for the death penalty. In Ohio, you have to have certain factors, like in most other states, in order to get a death penalty. In this case, there are specifications within the indictment. Those specifications are in there specifically, and they're designed to make this a death penalty case. And those specifications include the preteen age of the victims and the use of a firearm. Those are key to the death penalty. But then another question arises. You've got multiple charges with multiple multiple victims. Three of each of those indictments is the same victim. So you have aggravated murder and it's charged three different ways. Let's say the jury comes back and the jury says guilty on all three. By law, since there was only one victim and one death, there can only be one sentence, even though they were convicted on all three counts. It does not mean that should the judge decide not to give the death penalty, that the judge couldn't stack on top of that the kidnapping and the felonious assault. The judge can do that. But keep in mind, one victim, one death, regardless of the number of counts that charge an aggravated murder, can only result in one sentence. So Peter, I hope that clears it up, and I hope that helps your listeners understand why there were 21 counts.
Yes, Dad. Okay, so that makes a lot more sense now. So you can't stack the multiple similar aggravated murder charges, but you can stack murder, kidnapping, battery, things like that. We know you can stack those charges as we've seen, or sentences as we've seen in other cases. So now for the final question for this video, how does he plead not guilty when there's reportedly a confession? I think some of you may already know this. Outside of a bad confession, meaning coerced or he was under the influence of something, there are certain not guilty pleas that you can admit the wrongdoing or committing the facts without being culpable for the murders. So he could be not guilty by reason of insanity or some similar statute. He could be not guilty because of self-defense, which obviously it doesn't seem like that's the case here. And that's why the body cam footage can become so important in this case, because of how calm he was, how he was able to answer their questions. He wasn't in some manic state. He wasn't, high on something. At least it didn't look like it from the body cam footage. We don't know what testing or reporting or mental health experts are going to say, but that body cam footage will absolutely become something that's very important if he does go with a mental health deficiency or some kind of insanity defense in this case. Hopefully you guys got some of your questions answered. Throw whatever other questions you have in the comments, and we may get to them later. This is not a case we are going to be breaking down very often, but if a lot of you have very similar questions on this case, because this was the second most requested case for us to look into, I wanted to bring it to you. Let me know what you think of it. Hit that like button, please, and subscribe if you haven't already. For now, that's all we've got. Until next time. Thanks for watching another episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you enjoyed the episode, please hit the thumbs up and share with your friends who may be interested here on YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok at Tragos Law is our handle. And don't forget to listen to The Lawyer You Know podcast featuring new episodes every week. If you have a case you want to talk to us about, if it's a personal injury case, wrongful death, catastrophic injury, car accident, or slip and fall case, please email us at lawyeryouknow@gmail.com. And of course, all these links I just mentioned are included in the description below on this episode and every episode. So until next time, this is Peter Tragos, The Lawyer You Know.